Good morning, grade 7s. Welcome to part 3 of lesson 13. In this lesson, we'll be going on with the topic we've been busy with. Today, we'll be focusing on finding the general rule or the general formula, which is Tn, and then we'll be looking at finding the rule of a numeric pattern. So if you think back to grade 6, I taught you a method where we used Tn to work out the general rule or the general formula to work out any term in a sequence. So it's basically the rule that we use to find a term. Now there were a few steps that we followed for each one, so we are going to use these steps to work out this example at the bottom. Now it does say here, refer to lesson 10 on Seesaw for an explanation, video and example. We have done this work before, so it's nothing new. You should remember it from previously. Let me just double check and get the notes. Yes, we did use Tn rules in our videos, so just go back and check that. Okay, so the first step, let me just quickly go through it. When you're given a list of numbers, you're going to find the difference between the terms. That's your very first step. The second step, you say Tn is equal to whatever that difference is times n. Step 3, you test it for the first term. So in other words, wherever you see an n in that equation, you're going to put in the number 1. Then you work out the answer. Now, if it doesn't equal this number that you need to adapt it, all right? You need to correct the rule so that you get the correct answer. So then step 5, write down the new Tn rule. That's once it's been adapted. Then step 6, test for the second term, and that's where you substitute in a 2 wherever you see an n. So let's apply this to our example at the bottom. So the example says, provide a rule to describe the number pattern. So the number pattern is given as 4, 7, 10, 13. And then use the rule to find the 20th term. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to work out our difference. What do I do to 4 to get to 7, from 7 to 10, and from 10 to 13? You can see each time we added 3. So my difference is plus 3. Then step 2 says, you say Tn equals your difference. In this case, it's 3 times n. Then we're going to test it for the first term. So that's where n equals 1. So we're testing it. There's an n, so we put in 1. So term 1 is equal to 3 times n. But now remember, we said n is 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. However, if you look back at your number pattern, we've got a 4, or we need a 4, but we have 3. So what do I do to this 3 to get to 4? I add 1. So there I've added 1. I've adapted my rule. Okay, now we've done that. Now we test it for the second term. So wherever you see an n, you're going to put in the number 2. So T2, term 2, is equal to, now we use our new rule, 3 times n, but now remember n is equal to 2. So 3 times 2 plus 1. Then BODMAS says we do multiplication first. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Is that what we need? Yes, it is. So we know that that rule works. So we've got our general rule, but we're not done yet because they want us to find the 20th term, in other words, T20. So there, wherever you see an n, you're now going to put in 20. So T20 equals 3 times n, so 3 times 20 plus 1. So 3 times 20 is 60, plus 1 is 61. So if you remember these 6 steps, they apply for every single numeric pattern. You do exactly the same steps, you should be able to find any term that I ask you to find. So that's the end of this lesson. In the next lesson, we will continue.